do the gavel thing and welcome everybody to the Historic Preservation Commission meeting tonight, Thursday, 11 o'clock, just after 5 o'clock. And we welcome everybody here. Let's see, call to order. Okay, roll call. Brian?
Chair Akins,
Here.
Vice Chair Convery,
Here.
Commissioner James, Commissioner McHatton,
James.
Here.
Absent.
Commissioner Prebor.
Here.
Great. Thank you all. We will now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I have the words on my
Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You didn't go to public school? I did go to public.
Excuse me, I'm not sure if it's necessary, but I'd just like to say out loud for the record that Commissioner James is absent. So there wasn't a response, but I thought maybe we should say the word absent.
Oh, yes. So Commissioner James is absent. She notified me this morning that she was going to be unable to attend the meeting tonight. So, Mara, could you just really quickly, for the general public that might be watching, explain to us how we have a member who is now at a public facility and why?
So
This may be the only time.
Sure. The thank you, Chair Akins. I'm trying to think. The COVID. I'm going to call them Brown Act changes are now over, and so we're back to using the Brown Act, and so all members are expected to be at the meeting in person. If they cannot be for some reason and they're excused from that, they can be at a different location that is noticed and posted 3 days in advance, has to be open to the public, and it cannot be their home. So otherwise, commissioners are expected to be at the meeting.
Okay. And so Commissioner McHatton is actually sitting in the library at the Ojai Valley Museum.
Right, so we posted, sorry. So yes, we have somebody tonight that is present with us via Zoom and is located at the library at the Ojai Valley Museum. And the notice was posted actually more than 3 days in advance. And it's also listed on our application.
Yes, so if
one of the
you
meeting sites.
happen to come by the museum in the last few days and you saw this long strip of paper, that was the official notice that that's the place. And also you mentioned it in the information that went out on the meeting, so it's somewhere, I think, in here.
It's on the front page of your application, or of the agenda.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. It's just one of those things where we're hoping to get back to normal, and we're doing everything that we need to comply.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so public communications. Public communications is the time set aside during the Historic Preservation Commission meeting for members of the public to address the Historic Preservation Commission on items of city business other than scheduled agenda items. Matters raised at this time may be briefly discussed by the commission and will generally be referred to staff and or placed on a subsequent agenda. Under state law, other than for emergency items, no action can be taken at this meeting. And let's see. This is what I do. I should have. So what's going on at the museum? So I asked Wendy Barker, the museum's executive director, if she would give me some thoughts on what's going on at the museum. She said, Perception and Persistence exhibit with the Ojai studio artists is on view now through October 10th. I will tell you that normally the museum exhibits about 60 works from the Ojai studio artists. The Ojai studio artists has been looking to expand their numbers, and the museum actually displayed 75 pieces of work and got all of that into our museum, and it looks fabulous. So that's through October 10th. Third Friday in Ojai next week, August 19th, 5 to 7, free, live music and art demonstration. Art talks are the first and third Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 12 noon, August 20th, September 3rd and 17th, and October 1st. The admission is it's included with admission. And Hot Summer Night DJ Dance Party, which they just had last Friday. The last one that they're offering is September 9th from 7 to 9 p.m. That's a $5 admission, and it is on the patio in the back. And I haven't been yet. We're usually coming in and traveling, but I've heard it's been 40 to 60 people that have been showing up and enjoying themselves. I see the pictures that are going on. So that's the information coming from the museum. We will now move to, and there is our city council liaison sneaking in the back. Yes,
Before moving forward, did we have any public communications
sorry, I
online?
read that.
Or
Let me go to that. Brian?
No, there was no one online, or I didn't receive any cards.
Oh, I didn't know I had to give a card.
Okay. Okay. Could you come up and tell us your name, please? And you're not speaking about anything that's on the agenda. Okay.
My name
Please.
is Maddie Gadsby, and I'm here to speak with you about the old Troy Lodge on Mallory Way, and the cottages among the flowers. And I know that it has come before the commission, the Historic Preservation Commission, at different times in different ways. These properties have been on historic lists. There have been historic reports made on both of the properties, but it's never moved forward to be approved or acknowledged by the city of Ojai. And I think it's time. So I would like to ask the Historic Preservation Commission to sponsor this as a landmark, both of these properties. And I'll just be very brief, but for the Ojai landmark criteria A and C, the Mallory Way Troy Lodge is eligible. And the cottages among the flowers is eligible as an Ojai city landmark under criteria C, D, E, F, and G. This is according to the San Buenaventura Research Associates, who did the historic reports back in the early 2000, well, one of them's 2008, one of them might be 2015. I would have to dig those out, but I have copies of them. They're also eligible as far as California and national landmarks. The Troy Lodge is one of the few remaining auto courts from the 1940s. There are very few remaining. And so that's my question is, can the Historic Preservation Committee please move this forward and sponsor the landmark recognition for these properties?
Okay.
If I should do something different, I would like to know.
I'm gonna let Vice Chair Convery
Okay.
respond.
Well, my question, Maura, are we allowed to have dialogue with public comments, or does it have to be on the agenda?
My understanding is that this is just a time to receive comments and stop there. It's not on the agenda, so that would be the protocol.
I believe Commissioner Aiken said brief comments.
It's not up to
It's
him.
Oh, I'm
this
sorry.
this is
That's not
the
what he read.
yeah this is the time for public to give comments to the commission. Sorry, I was thinking that maybe Commissioner McCatton was raising her hand? No. Okay,
No.
sorry.
Rather
And-
than, I don't want to make a comment about directly to you, but if not you, watch the meeting last month, you'll learn about a little more discussion about that.
I looked for the minutes and they weren't posted.
You have to watch the video.
Watch the video.
It's on
Okay, and that will give me
ojicity.org.
more
Yeah.
information. Okay, but you're not talking to me.
I'm not talking
Well-
to you.
So at this time, and what the chair had read was that they may briefly discuss it, but it wouldn't be a back and forth with a member of the public. And generally, what may happen is that the commission would refer it back to staff to place on a future agenda.
Yes. Second line in that paragraph that I read. So, but thank you for your comments. We do appreciate them.
So I have a question. So when are we allowed to discuss, when are we allowed to do that? At some point in this meeting?
Yeah.
Or at the,
May be briefly discussed by the commission, and so the four of you may briefly discuss this now. And it would be very briefly, and I think
Microphone.
what would happen would be is that you would be either just taking the information into account or perhaps referring it to staff now,
Yeah.
to us, and saying to staff,
Microphone.
Microphone?
sorry.
Oh,
Please put, this is your opportunity to tell staff to put it on a future agenda, but it's not up for like a major discussion, even if it's brief, between the four of you regarding these two sites. If you'd like staff to put it on a future agenda, this is the time to say that.
Yes. Vice Chair Comrie?
We did discuss it during the last meeting. There was some general discussion, and I think we did ask it to be on the agenda, and there was some dialogue about the fact that there's an ad hoc committee with the city council, but I don't think that ad hoc committee affects our ability to move forward with sites of merit, which is the low-hanging fruit on the designation on this. We can make it a sites of merit pretty easily. A landmark is a whole different process. So I would like to request, Maura, that we add it to the agenda to consider the Cottages of the Flowers and the Troy Lodges to be added to the sites of merit for the city of Ojai as a first step to landmark. And I can't remember what we talked about a month ago, but I know we talked about it. Can you guys hear me?
does,
Mumbling.
Yes.
can the city council representative talk about it, because it's their ad hoc committee?
No.
No, okay.
Yeah, no,
And she's not on the ad hoc committee, so,
Oh, she's not on it.
no, she's precluded
Yeah.
from, so, but anyway, the discussion is amongst ourselves. The discussion isn't outward, and also because it's not listed as a discussion item, we can't take any action other than to suggest our interest in this as a future agenda item.
Yeah, speaking of which, future agenda item, I will not be here during the next meeting, September 11th. I'm going to be at a wedding, and I would like to hopefully see it on the agenda in October so that I could participate if that's
Okay.
a possibility. Just a thought to
Okay,
put out
yeah,
there.
let's talk about that some more when we get to commissioner comments, because I think we're treading a little deep.
so, what I've noted is that this needs to be a discussion item and not at the next meeting. Now, whether or not staff can get it on an October agenda is another issue, but it needs to go on a future agenda, and that is noted.
Thank
Great,
you.
thank you very much. Do you have a public comment, young lady? Would you like to come to the microphone and identify yourself? Just kidding.
Susan Francina,
You can pull that down.
speaking as a longtime private citizen and as a friend to many that live in the cottages among the flowers and the Becker bungalows, Troy bungalows. I did hear, I missed the meeting regretfully, but I did hear what Craig Walker said, and he mentioned that it could be an emergency item because our goal is to protect and give time to thoughtfully consider options. And my concern is I do not know how much time we have. And so perhaps you can do a little investigation, and if it is an emergency item so that there's protection in place, so that there's not some demolition or anything of that nature, which I don't think, but there's always a risk. So my request is investigate and see the best way. I want to support the comments of the previous speaker and the comments of Craig Walker.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great.
Well, I'd like to add to that then, with that information, if it's available to go on the agenda in September, I won't be here. I'm certainly able to submit written comments and opinions, and you can read them out loud, Brian, but I won't be here.
Okay. So I can't even comment on your suggestions, but we hear exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, don't hold it up because I won't be here, in other words.
Okay. Okay. Again, thank you both for your comments. I will just say that I attended the meeting. I was here 6+ hours, because I get here at 5 o'clock and pal around with Matt Summers so I could sit right on the second. I usually sit in the front row, but it was reserved, so I was on the second row. But yes, I sat for 6 hours and listened to every one of them. So thank you very much again for your comments and for your comments. Vice Chair.
Should we mention or note that Cindy asked for this last meeting to be on as a future item as well?
Are you looking at?
Thank
This
you,
is-
noted, thank you.
Yeah, it'll show up.
Well,
Yeah.
The
this
place
is,
for it to go is in the
this is the second
future
time
items.
that we've asked for this issue to be on a future agenda. Yes.
Noted.
Just noted, yeah.
Yes, noted. Okay. Consent items, minutes of the July 14th meeting.
Oh, I have a correction to the minutes, which is
Okay.
on page 3,
Let's see if you have the same one as I do.
third paragraph, page 3 of 6.
Page
The
three of
minutes,
six.
wrought, R-O-T, is actually W-R-O-G-H-T, wrought iron.
Yeah,
It's not R-O-T iron.
WROUGHT.
Oh, not,
Yeah, that's all.
In both
Two
cases.
yeah, there's two misspellings of wrought, and that's all I've got.
I did get a cute smile out of that.
that's a good, yeah. Should
Oh,
that be the only problem?
The joy of learning the English language. Okay, the other thing was if you go 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs down from that, it says the applicant Jane Carroll, I believe she was the representative for the applicant. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I am, on the minutes, Jenny just pointed out where it says future agenda items, the last meeting, I requested that the Mallory Way and cottages be designated as sites of merit at this meeting. And there was some pushback about the ad hoc committee, doing their thing at city council. And then I do believe that doesn't stand in the way, though. So I really would like to see it on the agenda for the next meeting, since I asked for it on this meeting, because we should, at minimum, explore the ad hoc committee's involvement with holding up, designating this property. Because I don't think the city council ad hoc committee has any purview over whether this is a landmark. I mean, it's a landmark. It's in the historic report, and designating a landmark has nothing to do with what the ad hoc committee's talking about, because it doesn't change the status of the property. That's my opinion. So I would really like to see it ASAP on our meetings.
Noted, and for the record, that was the chair that held that up, not the staff, so, just so people understand that. So, yep, I hear everything that everybody's saying, and we'll investigate the time frame and get some more information. So, okay, any other changes, adjustments?
Not from me.
Uh,
Your comments?
So do we have a motion then to approve as amended?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
And I'll second that.
Brian, roll call, please.
Akins,
Yes, please.
Convery,
Yes.
McHatton,
Yes.
Praybor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you all. Okay, next moving on to item number 2. Item number 2.
Let's do a disclosure of site.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I even had that highlighted. Thank you. Jumping back. Disclosure of site visits, disclosure by commissioners of site visits and ex parte contacts for items on the agenda. I would guess we're talking about the item 2 that we need to declare if we
Yes.
were there or if we had ex parte communications.
Correct.
So would any of the commissioners who visited the property we're talking about in item number 2 declare whether you were there and whether you talked with anybody?
I visited the property. I didn't talk to anyone.
I visited the property and I took pictures, and Elizabeth and I have been talking. Does that,
About
oh, I thought we were
Well,
talking
no-
about the
the
jail.
arcade.
Oh, just
not-
item
Oh,
number
oh, oh, the arcade one, yeah.
Yeah.
No, okay, for the next one. For the arcade one, yes, I visited the property and I took pictures.
Okay.
And I visited the property as well. I did not speak to anyone.
Okay, and the conversation with Elizabeth is,
For the jail.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
they're coming here as an information, it's already approved, so.
Okay, so we don't have to
It's
worry about
something we
that.
need to worry about. Yeah, so
Or not to disclose.
I have not talked to the family. I did attend the planning commission meeting that talked about the restaurant there and the activities after that. I have walked up and down the main street to look at it, but I have not talked with the owners or the owner's representative. So, okay, so thank you for that staff report.
Okay, thank you,
Somehow I
Chair
forget.
Akins and Commissioners. So this request was submitted on May 12th, 2022, and is regarding minor repairs and painting for the front facade of 7 adjacent commercial establishments from 314 to 328 East Ojai Avenue. This is City Historic Landmark Number 5, called the Arcade. The Arcade was designated as a City of Ojai Historic Landmark by the City Council in 1993. Therefore, any restoration on the Arcade requires a work permit to be reviewed and considered by the Historic Preservation Commission. Design guidelines were adopted by the City Council in 2008, which include a color palette, and the approved color palette includes the entire selection of Dunn Edwards earth hues. Again, this is from 2008, and the guidelines state that colors for accentuating features should, I'm doing that in quotes, should be selected from the approved palette, which we keep in the Community Development Department and file. And the guidelines say that the stucco wall, on the other hand, shall be Benjamin Moore Navajo white. So variation is acceptable at the discretion of the commission for accentuating colors, but not the stucco. The stucco wall, and I'm going to pass this around to you, if you'd like to see it. One of those. The stucco wall is, again, uniformly proposed to be, for this project, they're not proposing to change the color. They're proposing any touch-up to be the Benjamin Moore Navajo white. And the proposed colors for the accentuating features are all manufactured by Dunn Edwards, and they either match exactly or they're a variation from the 08 palette. And what I want to say about the palette, if someone were to go today and try to get a color that is from 08, they would give the ID number of that color and the name of that color, and the employee at the Dunn Edwards store would, they don't have that in stock anymore. However, with those numbers and color, if you have the ID number, they can make that exact color. So even though the palette, you won't find that 08 palette in the store, and you won't find those colors on the shelf, but they make those colors. So the improvements are minor, and they don't change the character or design of the existing building exterior. The paint colors have been chosen, again, either from the color palette or are similar, and would be permitted through a discretionary review and consideration by this body. And staff is recommending that you approve the requested work permit as submitted to you. And we do have a representative here tonight, Mr. Dan Plashel.
Great. So the first thing I'll do is officially open the public comment. I have my usual checklist. Thank you for that, Maura. So questions of staff from the commissioners on the staff report we just heard.
Not for me.
Well, is from this document, it can be from this document, or what you just read?
You can ask any question
Well,
about
where
this,
all of these
about this
places
project.
where it says off-white, that would be Navajo white? All on the chart,
Okay, so there's existing colors and proposed colors.
proposed colors.
And if while I was reviewing this,
Chocolate chunk.
while I was,
I just can't. Chocolate chunk.
I'm not sure if you want me to answer a question or not.
I just want to clarify that everything's going to be Navajo white and chocolate chunk, and then there's different door colors.
Okay, so Navajo white is for stucco only. The colors in that chart
Is
are
for
all the
trim.
accentuating colors. And when I looked at the existing colors, if I saw something that looked like it was off-white, I don't really know what the color is, so I just said it was off-white.
Yeah.
But that would be existing, not what's proposed.
Okay, so the proposed are trim and doors.
Trim and doors, yes.
Okay, no stucco. That's the thing that needs painted, though. I mean, that's,
Well,
I don't-
the stucco, they're proposing, I think the existing and proposed elevations, colored elevations, I'm hoping they're in your packet. And
can't find them in here.
they're doing repair and paint. So when it's necessary to repaint the stucco, they will, and they can only use the Navajo white
Right.
color. The doors and the trim and the soffit are being proposed to change from the existing colors to different colors, and that's where all the pretty names are. And those names aren't going to be in your 08 palette, but they should be similar to those colors from the palette.
Okay, so I have a question, just to confirm, there are no repair, other than like basic paint repairs, dry rot or whatever on the wood, there are no other repairs, this is basically a paint job.
It's a paint job, but I think some of the stucco is to be
Yeah.
repaired as well, but it's patch and
It's
paint.
part of painting. So my challenge with this is that, you know, the city's become really onerous with all these permits and meetings and all this stuff. And if the paint colors are approved, pre-approved, we don't get to make aesthetic decisions, nor does the planning commission. That's in the code. The planning commission can grant variances and follow the code, and I guess, you know, we can make recommendations, but we can't say, I don't like yellow. You can't make it yellow because I don't like yellow. I mean, we can't do that. That's in the code, aesthetic decisions. But if a property owner chooses the paint colors that are pre-approved by the city for the historic area, and they're obviously painting only the doors and the trim, not the wall, I don't think it should have to come in front of us. I think it's a big time waste for everybody,
So,
including the property owner.
a couple of things. One is, the colors from 08,
Yeah,
they were approved, I agree,
yeah.
by a body, by a commission, okay? And by a review and consideration. And it's, I believe that it's the HPC, I believe, wants to see these items come in, because actually you could say the same thing about many things. If we have a design program, or we have a color palette, or we have sign
Well,
guidelines.
no, I think the sign is different.
Oh, okay, so we'll
because-
stick
yeah.
with the paint colors,
Yeah,
because
I'm
that's what's in
just
front of us.
talking about paint
Okay,
colors, and
so
I'm just
if
talking
you-
about trim and doors.
I think that we can put this on an agenda item to talk about, and if the commission would like to no longer review this particular thing where we have a landmark and there are colors that have been approved,
Yeah.
and they come in with the same color, and take this away from the HPC and give it to staff, I think that's definitely something that we should talk about.
As a permanent item.
Right, they would come into the city to get a work permit, but then it could be a minor work permit that just staff reviews.
I'd
In
like
this
to-
particular
yeah.
situation, some of the colors are not exact.
Which leads me to, because the Dunn Edwards color palette is different than in 2008, since there is a brand-new Dunn Edwards color palette, that's what needs to come here. And that's what we need to say, okay, these are the approved colors now that Dunn Edwards is no longer providing the other colors. And then it doesn't have to keep coming back to us. So we need to go to the source and approve the colors.
Right,
to
except
save
I
that
don't
confusion.
know how often Dunn Edwards changes their palette.
10 years, yeah.
So,
Yeah. Anyway, but you see
Yeah.
what I'm getting at?
But
It's
something,
just-
I just want to say something like color like Navajo white, any Pittsburgh paints, Benjamin Moore, anyone will mix that color. It's like Swiss coffee. But all of these other specific colors might not be, right? Like my question is, it sounds like Cindy's saying, I mean, everything is chocolate chunk, the Navajo white we talked about, and all the doors are different colors. Do we need to look at each color of the door? No.
No.
So
We
the
don't
doors
have-
were,
yeah.
the doors can be any color that they want.
If it's a
Well,
pre-approved color, the owners can choose those colors.
it has to be within those colors.
But within the color palette.
Right, and if they came in with a color that was a variation, and they're saying, well, we believe it's similar, it's
Yeah.
up to, it's your discretion.
Yes.
They're all different.
Yeah, I see, I get where the problem is, but I think at this point, if all the Dunn Edwards colors are out of, style now, or, out of stock, whatever the words are, I think it's time to get all those fresh colors and say, these are the colors. And then let the owners know that those are the colors to choose for the next whatever couple of years until Dunn Edwards changes it all. I mean, I'd love to hear from the person who submitted this, your thoughts on this experience, because we're trying to make this a better process for people and streamline it. There's so many ways that people are being tortured, with these kind of requests.
So we'll get to the applicant next, but
Oh.
right now we're doing staff. Well, and that change would require a code change because what we're talking about
Mhm.
is spelled out in the code.
Yeah.
And
So my question to staff is, everything is approved or can be approved, but why are all the door colors different colors? Are all of these door colors already pre-approved?
All of the colors on there are either the Dunn Edwards approved color or a variation of it.
Variation of it, okay, I got it.
And then they're already all different colors as they exist now, right?
Well,
pretty much.
yeah, I have some thoughts about that, but I don't know if now's the time to discuss it.
Yeah.
Not quite yet. We'll wait
Yeah.
till we get to it.
I just want to talk about the process while we're in the middle of the process so we can try to see how to make it easier.
I think changing the process,
Yeah.
or in talking about the process, should be put on another agenda
Yeah.
item.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I don't have
Um,
any issues about this proposal. I think it's perfectly acceptable.
Great, thank you. And one of the things that I've been, and we'll talk about the downtown historic district, but one of the things I've been seeing and hearing is complaints about the speed in which permits are being handled, which is part of the reason I went to the planning commission meeting last Tuesday and sat there for an hour with them talking about plastic chairs and plastic tables for 45 minutes. So this permit, for people out there, this permit was pulled May 12th. It is now August 11th. So I'm told that 60 to 90 days is a pretty standard procedure, especially when it's having to come before a group that meets once every month. The two permits that came before the planning commission came before them in 2 months. So I have those copies of those here too. So just, trying to, the people that are saying that it's taking forever to do this, someone told me 9.5 months for this project. I'm just going by the information that we have here. Again, it's something that I'm trying to gently.
But I think it's also the level of the project. This which you clarified is a paint job.
However,
Or-
projects come in and they have a date stamp, and if we put all the small projects ahead of the big projects, then the big projects are gonna take even longer than 30 to 90 days, and we have to treat everybody equally. We
Yeah, I agree with that too,
we
but-
could do all the small things and never get to the big things, so
This is
they're all in
So
queue.
it's all in queue.
They're all
yeah.
in queue.
Again, but this.
I think that's something, I just want to say, that's
Go ahead.
an important thing for the public to know.
Now, I am your planner.
Yeah.
I'm not one of your planners, I'm your planner.
Yeah.
Yes, the last time-
So, because, knowing that that's what it is, they comes in, it's in the queue, and you go down and go through all of them, whether it's paint job or it's a total gut or
It's
whatever it
not
is.
black and white, but that's pretty much the way it goes.
Right. Okay, that's good to clarify, I think.
And we were talking, and the last time she had time to count, she was in the 15 to 17 projects currently going on at this time. But you talk about just a paint job, but this is a paint job on the arcade, which is
Yeah.
landmarked, which is the most prominent landmark and the most visible landmark that we have. So, and as you know, we're very careful about downtown. But I agree. I mean, one of the pitches we've said is that we want to look for downtown. We want to look at the processes that are in place, look at the overlays that are in place, and see what we can do to streamline this. So we're not going to take this one is the guinea pig, but it's just generating some thoughts for people that may benefit in the future. Okay, the applicant is here, Dan Placial. Did you want to say something, Dan?
I don't have anything to add.
Was there a question we just asked that maybe you can answer for us?
Does he have a Dunn Edwards shirt on?
So regarding the,
Come to the mic, please.
He does.
She said, do you have a Dunn Edwards
Is that a
shirt
Dunn
on?
Edwards logo? Okay,
They-
so
they
now it's all connected.
they give
Yeah.
them to me for
Gotta
free,
get
so
it.
Done.
I've got lots of them. So I had a color consultant come out, and we took that deck out, and I had told her we need historical colors, and then the owner was there, and she had opinions and stuff. So the Navajo white was fine. I think we had come up with another color, but then you had said that it had to be the Benjamin Moore Navajo white, and that's fine. They're super close. And I'm almost wondering if what you were talking about is, see, we're painting that picture right there, the Bonnie Lou's, and then like about 7 businesses going up the street. So what you're seeing, the facade of the stucco out there, that's kind of, right up against the street. We're not touching that. We're doing the actual stucco wall that's connected to the businesses.
That's understood.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, and we are doing all of that, but it is basically just a paint job. And as far as if you guys needed the new fan deck, I mean, I could drop one by for you. And yes, they do change about every 10 years. They probably could still make those colors, but the problem is you probably have the only deck.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to have that, but it's so old, people just don't have them.
Yeah, we need to
So,
update.
so on this one, it says Madeira, and on here it does. They might not be the same color.
That is true, and
Right.
that's why when I submitted the folder, we've got before and after pictures with renditions with the new colors.
Okay.
Dan, I have a question.
Yeah.
What, is it possible to use Frontier Paint? They're local. It's like shorter to drive
So
there.
I do business with Frontier Paint, and they just sold now their Catalina
Really?
paints. Doug and Marta just sold it. Yeah, they're just a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
So
that's terrifying.
so I use them, occasionally, but
Yeah.
they're so much higher priced.
Yeah.
you know.
They also have Benjamin Moore, which is the historic, the
Yeah.
traditionally historic paint
I
colors.
could
But,
use
wow,
their
bummer
paint, but then I've
news.
got to go back to the owner and say, hey, it's going to cost X amount of dollars more.
That's really sad.
You know.
Sorry to hear that.
I do give them business, for sure. I try and do the same thing and
Yeah.
buy local and do stuff like that.
Yeah.
But on certain projects, it's just not cost effective.
Well, I was, more talking about Doug rather than Frontier Paint, but
Yeah.
now that it's not Doug, I'm not talking about Frontier
Yeah,
Paint, I
they
guess.
just retired.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, well, just wondered, okay.
So I
well,
don't have anything else to add unless you have questions for me.
I guess the other question was the process. How has the process been for you?
Well, this is my first time coming to this meeting, so I've I've avoided it, and I haven't needed to deal with it, and I'm a contractor. I want to get to work and make money and get stuff done. So anytime I'm waiting, I'm not happy about it. But I don't expect it's any different than any other process. So it's been fine. They've been really helpful inside the office. Maura's been very helpful, and so I'm happy with the way it's gone.
Okay, thanks.
I paid him to say that.
I was gonna say. Mara slipped 100 under the table.
If down the road we have questions on improving the process, are you available for us to talk to?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd be glad to give some input on that.
Okay. You're the last one in the lion's den, so you're fresh meat.
Okay. No, not a problem.
No, welcome. Glad you're here. Okay.
So am I done?
I'd like to make a motion, should we?
Stay, or can I-
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Say just a second. Gina, yes. Gina.
Not just in general. So we have the historic deck of earth colors, but the colors that they're painting over are, well, for Bonnie Lou's, it's orange and purple and red, lavender, light blue. I mean, all of these colors that are vibrant colors in the arcade, and now we're going to an all chocolate chunk. Were they all painted prior to an agreement of historic colors before our time? Because those all can't be in the same deck, right?
Correct. So what I was told was, I think Bonnie Lou's, they actually they had changed the color of their front door. They didn't ask, they just did it. I think probably that happens. People paint their door and, I don't know, maybe they do it on the weekend or something, but, yeah, I didn't, those colors weren't originally in that deck, and so I'm not sure why they had painted them those colors at that time. But this time, we had a color consultant, that was paid and working on historical colors to recommend the colors based off of that deck with some newer historic colors. And she took into consideration, like, the colors that might have been in the sign for each place's sign, and so their front door would kind of coincide with the color that was on their sign. But still historic. I mean, some of the colors are brighter colors, but kind of muted. So they're not super
It's just the doors.
super crazy bright.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Bonnie Lou's was painted before 2008. I mean, it's always been
Oh,
the same color, right?
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
before it was designated, 93. Does Bonnie Lou's open in 93, 95? Anyway, before the arcade was designated.
Yeah.
Is when it was painted.
And in the staff report, I named the colors as I saw them, and they may very well have been in a palette at one time, but they're faded or something. So I didn't go looking for a brand name color. I just called it as I saw it.
For the existing colors.
For the existing.
Right, of course, yeah.
That was just a curiosity question, but thank you for answering it.
Okay, do we have any other questions for,
I have one question about
do we have a
the,
question for Dan?
yeah, about the front of it. Does your client own the front of the arcade? Who
She
owns
owns
the front?
those businesses and on the backside as well, because we actually just did
But
the
I mean,
backside.
who owns
The arcade itself?
yeah.
Uh,
Who's responsible
I think
for the
the city owns
ownership
that.
of
The city.
this?
That's the city.
That's the city.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all the buildings on the back.
So she cannot choose to paint that? Okay,
But the stucco color is going to be the same that's on that
on
you
the wall
see.
of the shop?
Yeah, it's going to be the same in the back wall also.
Okay. What about the back? Okay.
And in the back, we just did the back, but we did it like for like, same colors, same. We did some wood rot replacement and stuff, but there was no changes.
I think the staff report mentions the work that's being done on the back, and I wanted to make sure it was mentioned in there in case it got brought up tonight. And if something is strictly maintenance and it's in the back, but if it's maintenance and it's like for like, then it does not need to come before this commission. The reason that this project is coming before you is because it's a change from what's existing to new, even though it's just a paint job, quote unquote. I'm doing little quotey things.
Got it.
Okay, any other questions for Dan? Thank you, Dan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are we ready for a motion? Any other questions to talk amongst ourselves?
Not for me.
Gina? No? Okay. If we're ready for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the work permit for this project.
Okay, second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Brian, call roll, please.
Akins,
Yes.
Convery,
Yes.
McHatton,
Yes.
Prebor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And thank you, Dan, again for being here. So, enjoy.
Who owns
Okay,
it?
item number 3. Item number 3 is the annual 2022 Historic Preservation Award.
Microphone.
How'd I turn that off? I'm not sure who that was.
Person behind the wall.
Yes.
James is hiding.
Okay, yeah, I had my mic on. Okay, so we are, item number 3. This is the annual 2022 Historic Preservation Award. When we met last month, we made nominations. We assigned folks to do the write-up for them. Thank you, Jenny and Cindy. And And so in that, I had put forth Tony Thatcher. In talking with Tony Thatcher, he's very modest and kept twisting my arm in the different meetings I ran into him. Also at the same time, he had met with the Ojai Civic Association, who had just had a meeting and had been talking about Jack Fay. And I had done an oral history interview with Doug Parker with Jack Fay back in 2013. It was about an hour and a half. We had also done one with Tony Thatcher. Tony's was 2.5 hours, so that change cost me 2.5 hours of listening, stopping, stopping, and then I did the same thing for Doug, in case you're wondering why this went long, the write-up I did. So knowing the stage we were in, I then accepted Tony's request and put in John Jack Fay as my nominee and the person that I wanted to put forth. And then again, went through the oral history interview that we had done as a part of the museum. And also I worked with his daughter, Nancy, who was texting me as I was typing this up on some Monday in the past, I think a week ago Monday. So that's how that switched from Tony to Jack. But I do want to thank each of you for doing the write-up on Jenny for doing the write-up on Gina, and Cindy for doing the write-up on Ron Polito. I very much appreciate the information that came with that. So staff report, where do we go next from here? We look at the information, see if these are the people that we want to nominate and go forward on. And then once we come up with nominations, then it will go to staff to summarize.
Right, well, now you've written up your biographies.
We each
Right.
have, yes.
And so, and if you're now satisfied with who you have and satisfied with how your biographies are written, you'll direct staff to draft a resolution to come back here to you with, and then you'll adopt that, making a recommendation to the city council to ratify your decision.
Okay, do we do the commission ratification of our nominations in this meeting?
No.
We
If
wait?
if you're satisfied and there are no more changes to who you're nominating, and you're satisfied again with your biographies, it's time at this meeting to direct staff to come back here with a resolution. Then that you'll then adopt, and to go to city council.
Okay, so I nominated both Gina, who's here for an annual award, and Jenny was kind enough to do the write-up. Turned out real well. I know you were under pressure.
I was, under a little pressure.
A little pressure. That guy on the left, I think, was the one that was twisting arms. Still pulling my arm out, fixing my shoulder. Okay, so, and then Jack Fay, again, that was a substitute for Tony Thatcher. I'm very pleased with that. And Cindy, you made a nomination. Are you happy with that nomination?
Yes.
And great. And again, thank you for the write-up. Very helpful. We also listed, as is noted in the staff report, the criteria for the nomination on each of the individuals. So I guess my question is, do we have questions for the people that we've submitted, or are we ready to turn it over to staff?
I love them. I'm ready to turn it over to staff.
Jenny?
I agree. I think we should turn it over to staff, yes.
Jenny?
I have, since there's 2 lines, Ginny and I just somehow didn't get together, so she pieced together this for me. Thank you very much, Jenny. I just wanted to add that my husband's name is Todd, and that the ad hoc committee, I believe we formed it in 2019. There's just those 2 blanks if you want to fill them in.
Thank you.
But thank you so much, Jenny.
Great. Okay. So we don't need a motion on that? Maura?
You do not need a motion on that. You are just directing staff.
Okay. And
So done, so noted.
so done.
Okay.
Great. Thank you very much. And again, as stated in that, we will get the write-up. That will be presented to us. It often is, the write-up is something that is what will go to council and is oftentimes, and I expect it on Jack, oftentimes is somewhat of a bit of an abbreviation to put it forward. Sherry's done that in the past for us. And then comes back to us for, oh yeah, that's okay, we agree with sending it to council.
Yes.
To make sure that everything still jives with what our thoughts were.
Yes.
And then it will go to council, they will approve it, and as noted in the staff report, typically the presentation has been done in the only meeting that's held in December, which is the second Tuesday of December.
That'll be confirmed prior to, and
That's up to the city council.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so, I mean, it'll be confirmed, and we'll let you know.
yeah. But traditionally, that's when it takes place. Okay, if there is nothing else,
Onward.
let's move on to item number 4. Excuse me just a second, I'll be right back.
Take it.
It's getting a little hot in here, so.
Oh, Gary, forgot to bring your shirt. Yay!
Yay.
Okay. You were at the same fundraiser we were at.
I know, I don't know why I didn't have.
You
Okay,
got
yeah.
them? Yay.
Sorry, I just had to do it.
It's great.
Yeah.
Let's take pictures.
I don't know, ask me. So, okay,
yeah.
staff report.
Yeah.
Hold it up. Look, it's everywhere.
Oh, look,
We're branded, baby.
let me see if there's something I need.
Okay, great. So a staff report on this item, please.
This is really this is a time for the commission to receive an update that's going to be provided by the Ojai Jail Arts Initiative. And I'm thinking that we have Elizabeth Herring, Teddy Nava, and Matt Henriksen. And the commission, you can feel free to open a discussion.
Okay, so I'd like to open this item and open it for, do we have any public comments on this, Brian?
No, we do not.
Right,
Okay.
and it's a discussion item, not a, you won't be taking any action. It's just a discussion item.
We won't. So I would like to invite the Elizabeth, Teddy, and Matt, if you'd like to come up and just, basically what we're looking for is an update on what you plan. I was kind of explaining that, you know, each time we opened the jail, I was the one sitting on the bench hearing some of these ideas that might have been a little bit out there. I think someone made one suggestion, and I'm like, that might be a little far for me, but I'm just one vote. And so I know there's concerns, you know, because when the paper came out and said it was going to go through the 16th, Ojai Day is the 15th. So things that we're concerned about, I'm concerned about is, one, the availability of the jail on Ojai Day. 2 is protecting the landmark. And 3 is understanding how you will be doing your displays. If you could share that with us and just help us understand. And if we have questions, we will ask those questions. If someone has, you know, something that they may disagree with, then they can express it at that time. I just wanted to get it done because 1, so we get it done ahead of time. 2, I had a daughter who got married. I already knew that Cindy Convery was not going to be here in September. She is the mother of a bride. Congratulations, Elizabeth.
Some other people also won't
Yeah,
be available.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So I worked with Mara and with Robin Godfrey, and we were able to align you coming to our meeting today just to give it,
Yes.
to set the stage for us, please.
Yeah, and I'll just say quickly, like, we're in touch with Robin and Weston about
Weston, yes.
coordinating with them on Ojai Day stuff. So,
Weston is the individual that will be handling Ojai Days for the city.
cool.
Yeah,
And we're setting up a meeting with him to talk
okay,
about all the plans for that and make sure everything is copacetic.
great. Yeah, he reached out to me at the plan update meeting.
Is Robin on the Arts Commission still? Is that why?
It's not Robin.
Robin
Robin
Gerber?
Godfrey is
No,
Oh,
the-
okay,
Robin
sorry.
Robin
Got it.
Godfrey is a liaison to the Arts
Got
Commission.
it, different Robin,
Yeah.
sorry.
Sorry.
No, you can.
Go
Should
ahead.
we start on Ojai Day, since that's what we're talking about?
Yeah, sure, sure.
I mean, the Ojai Day, I'll say when we first proposed the project, it being on Ojai Day wasn't like originally part of the plan, but in discussions with the Arts Commission and other government bodies, it was determined that that was actually like advantageous to people. They thought that that was sort of a selling point for the project because it drives more community engagement both with the site on that day. So as far as the availability of the jail on Ojai Day, it would be the same as the exhibition the rest of the time. So the public is still welcome to come in the jail and receive the same historical information, but with the added engagement of this local arts project. But I'm curious what other questions as far as the proceeding on Ojai Day is a concern.
So tell me about the outside, how you plan to display.
Yeah. So there's
I heard in different items or a different thought that came across. So
three-
share with us.
the Annette's and Haley's and Gary's are the three exterior sites,
Yeah, I
right?
didn't bold her because.
Well, that's
it's
also a really
less
simple one.
invasive, yeah.
Yeah, so we have three projects that are being displayed in the area surrounding the jail. One is a weaving by a local artist, Annette Hewley, which the plan is to suspend it from the trees just past the path down in that same area so that it'll cast light, the sun will cast light to it on the ground. It's like a translucent weaving. And the other one is a project that imitates institutional signage, which is going to be installed around the jail and is the least invasive. I mean, those two are very non-invasive. Yeah, it's like a fence post, essentially, yeah. And then the third project is, of course, the proposed one of Gary Lang, which is a painting to be displayed on the exterior of the building wall. And that is the one which we are currently researching different methods to apply to meet with the standards of the Historical Preservation Committee.
Okay, and so, the original thought was painting the jail. And
The
I'm
original
like,
thought was painting the jail, yes.
yeah, it's probably not going to, we have to look at what might be precedent setting. So, paint the jail, paint this landmark, that landmark, that landmark. All of a sudden the post office is glowing and, I mean, there was value to it as I talked to you. The jail gets painted often when somebody unfortunately does graffiti on it. And,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so what is your idea? I've heard, canvas on the side and,
Yeah, do you want to speak to
I
the?
have so there's a few, and I do feel like, Gary, if at any point you want to come up here and touch on that, because you have more experience as a painter, but we have researched a few ideas. One would be, I think the one that needs further research is affixing canvas to the exterior of the jail in such a way that Gary can paint on it and it can be removed afterwards and not really have any harm done to the building itself. That would involve, though, some more detailed, on our part at least, like what kind of canvas, how to cut it to the proper shapes, how are we going to affix it in that way. But I trust that would actually be quite good. The other idea, too, is I've done some research on some textiles, or it's called Textile Aqueous, but it's a brand called UTAC, and it's for photographic printing, but it's also a paper that's for removable murals. So it's not
interesting.
adhesive, but it is.
You can ask a question.
Oh yeah.
Is that paper weatherproof? Like, will it hold up for a week outside?
I believe so, but that's not exactly what it's intended for. So I'd have to also test that out or see, maybe read some reviews about that. But I have the technical specifications on it as well. And then Gary also, you mentioned to me on the phone, and I looked into this further, is a product called Yes Paste, which is essentially an acid-free, water-soluble like glue paste, kind of like, I want to compare it to Mod Podge, but you would put that on the exterior of the jail and put paper on it or something onto it, and then it would wash off. Or perhaps there's another alternative.
So that would be painting right on Yes Base?
Well, this is an idea,
Oh.
but unless you have a better way to use Yes Paste.
I've always used it, it had a different application.
Okay.
I'm happy to paint on anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Since
We
if you
love
want
you.
me to do this, yeah.
Do you want to ask some questions or speak at all?
So yeah, hi, I'm Gary
Hello.
Lang, and I've been asked to do this, and I'd like to do this. I think it would really be extraordinary, because one of the things I want to do is bring people from the community, and kids in particular, to do some of the painting. I want to wrap it with text. The text is basically a comment on what you lose when you're incarcerated and what you might gain. It's an interesting text. I could share it with you. But I didn't know I couldn't paint on the building. It's an aqueous paint, but you could wash it off. I don't know that it'll change the character of the building, but I think what you're saying is, forget that, that's not gonna happen.
So
Well-
is that what we're saying? You-
That's a pity.
Well, yeah, I'm just one vote, okay? And I have,
May I? As I understand, the issue at hand is not the relative invasiveness of the process, but rather the precedent it could set having the building painted. So having a paint that is easily removable is not it's not to the point so much as a different, right?
And the other issue, which was brought up by third parties, is the issue of the mural ordinance, because if you're painting on the wall, you're actually creating a mural. If you're not painting on the wall, it's not a mural. That's the definition of a mural. So to circumvent that conversation, the idea, and to avoid the precedent thing, just to make it like cleaner and easier to get to, it was about wrapping the building with something. And then maybe there are more benefits to that than just painting the building, like being able to remove that wrap and do something with it, whatever that means, you know?
Yeah. I think the
hang on just a second, Mara?
Well, I just wanted to remind the commission that the purpose of this is to receive information, and not that you can't ask questions, of course, and have a little back and forth, but it's to receive information. We're not going to be voting on
No.
what's the best method. They're just telling you what they're supposed to be presenting tonight of what their ideas are or what they're going to do. And it sounds like it's not concrete, but we're not making decisions tonight. That's all.
Yeah, we're not making decisions tonight. What we are, and each of the commissioners is just kind of giving you an idea of where the boundaries are.
Yeah. And I think for our commission, the boundaries are, you can't paint on the building. And I think that applies to the city code, the municipal code. Just with those guidelines, I believe you guys are, fine.
That being the case, what the change in our plan requires is a series of material tests, which we have not conducted yet. We're in the stage of collecting research in order to proceed with the material tests. We have to come up with a couple options that we can test out to see what the efficacy of all of them is first.
Yeah, and I think as long as you're not painting on the building and you're essentially hanging art on the building, then it doesn't matter what materials those are to us, because whether it's art, could be canvas, it could be a wood plaque, whatever you're doing, you're hanging it on the building in a temporary way.
I get it, so we'll look into
Right?
it.
Temporary, I think, is the key
Temporary
word.
is the key, yeah.
Gina, do you have questions?
Well, the 3 projects that they just discussed were outside projects. Are there inside projects as well that you plan on doing?
Yes. So there's 2 projects that are going to be on display on the inside of the jail, both of which are, and the artists from the beginning, because we knew we had a clearer idea of the physical requirements of the inside of the jail to get going. One of them is an installation that is all placed objects. Nothing is going to be drilled or affixed. It's all, very, very safe. And the other one is a sound installation that, again, is not invasive.
Are there going to be any convicts? Like, you're going to have any people? Please.
Just me.
We have thoughts on that.
So, my question is, if you go back to the first time you all spoke in front of us, the one thing that I think that, well, at least myself expressed was having it not be on Ojai Day. I think that one of the reasons why we said it and not having it be close to takeaway, we as a group only communicate with the entire city of Ojai in a social manner one time a year, and that's the jail. And the jail brings, I mean, just on my shift alone, hundreds of Ojai residents that learn who we are. We are able to show off and landmark, talk about the commission. It may be kind of dorky, but it really works. And it's like the only time that we really get to talk to the community. Taking that away from us, especially in a year where we're working on trying to do reach out, trying to have more of the community know who we are as we work on the downtown historic district. It's stinging for me right now. So I don't know how anybody else feels, but that date, I had no idea that it would be on Ojai Day.
If I might, I don't think that the project needs to take away that opportunity, because the Historic Preservation Committee, as far as I'm concerned, can still be present and tabling and engaging with the public during that. And in fact, it feels like there's potential for the project to actually kind of provide increased engagement.
But what is the sound going in the dark with their little flashlights and the kids looking at, what is the sound installation? Is it going to be something that, I mean, walking around placed objects and sound, what is that going to do as far as being able to engage the city on engage the children, what a landmark is and why it's important and why it's there, and the stories that all come with the jail that we talk with our residents and every year. Last year it was, we were slammed with people. It was such a more of a community event because it wasn't on Ojai Avenue as well, that, we just had so many people and so many kids interested in wanting to know about it. It's a hard one for me because I love this idea so much. I think that using our landmarks in this way is just such an important thing, but the date is jarring. So,
I feel you on this being like a change for the community. It's the first time that there's ever been a public arts exhibition at a historic landmark for this long that I know of. So it's definitely a first time for many things. And I think that having art in the space, because I'll just finish that thought. I think that having art in this space would be actually quite beneficial for the engagement with the building itself and with the history of the building, considering that each project is tailored specifically to the site. And I also think it could be advantageous, especially for like targeting the younger community here or kids specifically, to engage with not only a historic landmark, but also with artistic ideas that relate to that and how to carry away like a thought that relates to what you experienced in the space that can maybe like linger for longer and not just be what you see in that space and that be that. And what I mean by that is like the sound installation, for example, it's going to be quite abstract. I don't think it's going to be, there's not, to my knowledge, any spoken word. The artist who's doing the sound installation is a more experimental musician who works with ambient sounds and found sounds as well. He made an entire album based on the Thomas Fire and recorded, site-specific sounds for that. And then the other artist, Vanessa Wallace Gonzalez, is a local Ventura and Santa Barbara County, also a younger artist. Is she over 18 actually? Yes. Okay, yeah. Sorry. I did not realize that. But she's still younger and still engaged with like the community here and would be making work that would only further, I think, like the purpose of visiting the jail in the first place. So
I absolutely agree. I think that's why I said 364 days a year. I think this is a fabulous idea. It's just that one day we aren't exactly young and hip, but so our little conversations with the community will definitely be overshadowed by something that is spectacular, like I'm hoping that your event will be. I don't think that people will be talking with us like they would had there just been us. Like I said, I'm so torn because I think this is fantastic and I think it's a great way of using landmarks. But I do wish that we had, Brian walking around in his little, jailbird uniform, and us engaging with the kids is also something that it's kind of charming too. So
I mean, we haven't technically like precluded any of that. We haven't actually spoken about all of these ideas at all. And I would like to know what some of the conversations, I guess I would like to know what nature of the conversations that have happened in the past would be changed by this. Like, what in your mind are you thinking would suffer from having the art in the space? Just so that we know, not because, just because I'm curious.
well, like I said, it's something that's more informational. A lot of it is everybody wants to know who's been in there. Do we know anybody? And what the stories were. If there's any ghosts? What's the last time there was somebody that stayed in there? What's the longest person that's ever stayed in there? And the kids get really excited to take in and go in and close the doors in there and take their pictures and their selfies and have that space to pretend like they're in there and locked in because they close the gates on themselves. And then they have the flashlights to be able to look at the artwork. And then they come out and we talk about the Preservation Commission and what we're doing. And then they take pictures with the car that's usually borrowed, the movie set car that looks like an Ojai police car. And we have props set up out front with other landmarks to give information about it. It's not very, it's not very exciting, but it's kind of a little bit, it's nice to talk to the community that one day a year that we do to get to talk to them, because there is no other day where the Historic Preservation Commissions gets to reach out with our public. That's the only day.
Can I make a comment?
Is it not possible to share the space because as all of us growing up in Ojai, we've all had that experience on Ojai Day as well. And I don't think that we want it to go away. And I think
Idea. I'm up
I'd
to
like to
talking
make a
about it. And, this is once again, just my opinion. I'd like to know what the other commissioners think. I'd love to share the space, but I think that we'll definitely be outshined.
Certainly,
But,
our intention for doing it on Ojai Day was never to preclude any of the normal Ojai Day activities. That was never our goal or anything like that.
So will families be able to go in there and close the doors and pretend like they're...
That would be the idea, yes. The idea would not to be preclude normal functioning of that part of Ojai Day.
Can I
Okay.
move over to Vice Chair Convery? She has some comments.
Hi,
Thank you, Jen.
Mike, I think it's not a competition. I don't think it's whether we'll be outshined or not. And I also like the idea that the jail will be open for a week and we'll be bringing in people for a full week. I think there's an opportunity to have some my mic's on, right?
Yes.
I know, oh my God, but it's hard to tell. But I think there's an opportunity to have the information about the historic jail that we've always had on offer during this installation, which would last for, again, a full week. I do believe that Brian can show up in his prison uniform and that you guys won't turn him away on Ojai Day. I can't imagine that would happen. And I would love to see the patrol car be there as well, on Ojai Day. And I was wondering, as I was hearing your comment, Gina, and I do understand where you're coming from with the kids and all that, it's a school week. Kids are in school that week, and is there an opportunity for the kids from Topa Topa and San Antonio and Monica Ross, to have field trips? Because I think that would be really fantastic. And you're actually going to get a lot more kids understanding what that jail is, and maybe that's going to open the conversation to other days during the year where it doesn't have to be on Ojai Day, and we do interact with public schools and private schools to have field trips to the jail during the school year and talk to them about it. So I think just because you brought this up, Gina, and we're in this conversation about using this for a different purpose, maybe we can start using it during the year to interact with school kids. That, and that's further conversation, but I would like to.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, and I think that would alleviate some of your concerns about losing the one day of the year, challenge. But I would really like to see, and I know you guys are busy, and I know it's like you're raising money, and it's a lot, and it's overwhelming, but if there's an opportunity to bring in some little kids, on a field trip, I think it'd be cool.
Actually, that was one of the initial ideas Teddy had when he dreamed up this project years ago was the fact that the space was not open as much.
Yeah.
And so, in addition to not wanting to preclude or inhibit any of the normal functioning of the jail in regards to you guys, we were hoping to open that up so that there could be more of that during the course of the thing. It's to make that opportunity for education, engagement, and enrichment expand to a greater length of time. That's really the idea to begin with.
And truly, as opposed to thinking of it as, a competition where someone is being outshined, I think this project presents the opportunity to really be like a feather in the cap, so to speak, of the HPC, as a project that the HPC is supporting, creating a way to engage with these historic sites in a historically conscious but forward-thinking and contemporary way. And I actually think that the art projects are all curated to engage site-specifically with different aspects of the local history, the materiality, and the geography and community culture of the space. And so they sort of serve as a model for the very children that are visiting the site to look in and see, like, what are ways to think about this broadly and creatively and, like, make that history alive and relevant in a really beautiful and community-focused way. So my hope is that this is a project that the engagement that is driven and increased through it is, like, beneficial for the HPC and for all the organizations that have been so supportive and are involved in it.
I absolutely agree. I am looking forward. I hope this is the first of many where the community starts looking at our landmarks in ways that we can promote community involvement in a forward-thinking way with our landmarks. That was just the day was hard for me, but everything else besides that, I'm extremely supportive of this project.
So let's consider in the future maybe having the jail available to field trips during the year. I think that's something we should have on a future agenda item. And again, I think Gary stepped out, but the fact that Gary's bringing kids in to help do the word art about what it means to be in jail and what's the story of the jail and all, or I haven't seen those words, so I can't speak to that, but that's also local kids that are involved, and local he's not importing the kids from somewhere else, right?
They're not imported.
Okay, so that's Ojai kids, and I think some of those kids will take that information back, and maybe they're going to do a school report, and maybe their school's going to come and do a field trip. I just think there's a lot of education connection that we could work on.
And also specifically, we would like to invite all of you, like the HBC, to come be with us on that day. And if there's something in particular that you end up thinking of in the next month or so that you think would be a great thing to include on that day, whether it be like a workshop or some kind of talk or just anything you think of, like, we're very open to involving you guys to the best of our abilities and, like, to the furthest extent we can. So please come.
We don't have to talk about this, much longer, but I think we've talked it through, but I think I love the idea of having it on Ojai Day. I think it's brilliant to do it that day. I'd like to see it start that day and go the following week so people can come back. Because like Gina said, hundreds and hundreds of people go there on Ojai Day. And if that was the beginning of the project and it went for the week following, then the kids that go there can go, they go home and it's the typical, I went to a museum and I saw something and, if 2% of those people come back, right? So that would be something that I would throw out there. And I think it's for the city to be seen as a place that supports public art I just think it's great. I think that the Ojai Day is the perfect day to do it because we'll get the maximum amount of people to see that the city of Ojai supports public art in our city with local artists and local curators and involving local kids. And, the school visits is easy to work on. And, maybe just consider starting there or launching Friday. Ojai Day is on a Saturday. Launching Friday and going yeah. So that's my thought. I love it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, well,
If I might, one other thing I would add is that, as Brian can attest, when we've even just done site visits for the artists at the site, which Brian has been present for, each one of those has already turned into an informal jail visit where Brian started like taking people on tours, and one day we had like 30 or 40 passerbys just come and want to see the jail while we were just there doing a site visit with an artist who was like, she's in there taking measurements and stuff, and there's kids coming and everybody, and none of those people had ever been in the jail before on Ojai Day or even knew what it was. A bunch of them thought it was like a bathroom or a maintenance building. So even in the planning for this, where I feel like are serving your stated mission for the site and engagement with the community, and that's a huge part of our aim. So, you know.
Sorry, go ahead.
My last thought is, can we have those artists present and involved in some activity? I mean, present that day, certainly, but, you know, maybe there's a talk or something on site during that week, something that the community can actually meet and talk to and hear from these artists about why they did this, why they chose this project, and they'll be talking about the history of the building as well. So I think I'd like to see that, a public lecture.
Our current plan, which is not concrete yet, but in our working schedule, is for an artist talk and discussion the day after Ojai Day, on the closing day of the exhibition. So potentially that could perfectly serve that purpose, because anyone who comes on Ojai Day will then be invited to come back the next day. And our plan is also to invite whoever the artists are available to be present for parts of Ojai Day too, to be around. So
yeah, it would be nice to, I know that we and the Arts Commission both have Facebook pages, but maybe a little feature on each artist that we're sharing between the different Facebook pages that the city has. It might be nice to talk about the artists, show what they have planned, so it gets excitement about what to look for.
Yeah, we'll definitely be able to send you any kind of social media copy and like materials to share. And maybe we can put together a little PR package for you guys.
So, like Teddy said, I sat there and I got to meet all of the artists. I thought it was wonderful that artist after artist came and they talked about the different parts of Ojai that they all grew up in. So these are local artists, for the most part, if not all of them, who came from here, had the same wonder of going in the jail, and also understood, you know, as we were going through and pointing out, okay, there's the graffiti, you know, we need to protect that, and we need to protect that. So they have, you know, the nice thing is they have a local pride in protecting this because they realize that it's a landmark. But the fact that they were local, they were they took all kinds of pictures. So they took lots of pictures that looked like from every angle they could to make sure that their artwork would fit in to the structure as well as the preservation requirements that, you know, we're placing and insisting upon. I think, Gina, I think this is just an opportunity to have more people. I don't think that it's going to it doesn't seem to inhibit them from doing what we've done before. And I love that we're going to have opportunities that's going to involve the kids other than them locking each other up, and we'll still do that. They'll just have maybe a different surrounding than they did before. So I want to thank you for being here. And wish you luck, and again, please keep Gina's thoughts and concerns in mind. It is the one and only day, and I will again emphasize what Teddy said. Each time we were there, each time we had the jail open, almost every family that walked by on the bike trail or rode by were like, "Oh, is the jail open, and can I see it?" So we were doing routine tours.
And in fact, we would love to have any material that we can even help participate in the production of, relating to the HPC and the jail history, available during the whole thing. We have other published materials that are going to be available during the exhibition, one of which is a zine documenting all of the graffiti in the jail and engaging with the local history in other kinds of ways. And so it would be really quite easy to include more material relating to the HPC,
Definitely.
and that would be a wonderful idea.
More graffiti like that.
Include the history.
I'll be there every day.
So, you know, just like in closing, you're not painting the walls. You're hanging art on the walls
And we'll come-
temporarily.
Nothing's being.
You're not making holes
Just
in the
saying.
walls.
Nothing
Yeah.
is being permanently intervened
And
with.
you have our blessing from what you've presented, my blessing, Brian's, maybe Jenny's, from everybody, from what you've presented to us. I, as a commissioner, have not heard anything that will negatively impact the landmark actual building. That it is just a temporary installation. That's what I have heard.
I think that that's a really important point, that it's a temporary installation, like many public art projects are. You drive through West Hollywood, you see we did that ampersand, in an empty lot, was there for a month and then it was gone. I mean, that's part of it. And I think, I'd love to see something temporary on the post office that would then go away. Do you know what I mean? Or across the front of the arcade that would go away. Like, that to me is really exciting. Sometimes, yes, public art projects don't ever go away. And that's usually decided by West Hollywood's is a perfect example because their city council, they just support anything you want to do. And they always want to keep it. They never want it to go away. So, I think that conversation is part of the project.
Absolutely.
And I have closing comments too. One is that commissioner that's new to the Arts Commission, they were talking about projecting onto the side of the post office. And that I love too, because that can be ever changing and different artists, but it doesn't hurt the building. And so those are always fun too. But I don't know why we only do it. I mean, as I'm sitting here talking, and I know that the 1 day a year thing, but there are other events that are within Libby. There are all sorts of, there's a lavender festival, there's the art. Why don't we decide to open it maybe a couple of times a year, so it's not just this 1 day a year? I mean, what if we brought it up on a future agenda item where we talked about opening up the jail on other events that are going on in Libby that are community oriented?
Yeah.
That's a future agenda item as
Yeah.
of like a half an hour ago,
Yeah.
I think.
That's a great idea, Gina.
Yeah.
I agree, because we'll bring our own draw. We'll put Cindy in jail garb. for the day.
Thank you so much for
Yes,
coming
thank
and
you.
giving us this presentation.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay, now moving on to item number 4.
We are on number 5, I think.
5,
This
is it 5?
ad
Sorry.
hoc committee presentation.
Ad hoc committee.
There's no numbers. Oh, there they are. 5. So ad hoc.
There's no numbers.
So this is basically just an update. I know we have schedules that people have to get to, and we are precluded from anyone leaving early. That's on the days up here, or the meeting has to end.
Correct. We need to, something that I spoke to the chair about today, and I will confirm this for the next meeting, but I believe that per the Brown Act, we have to have a quorum on site, even though we have somebody off site. We have to have a quorum here. So we have one meeting, one person gone. So you're a quorum. Yes, no one's leaving. But we're pretty quick here. You have an ad hoc presentation, and then I have some stuff to tell you, and then we're done.
Yep. So again, an update on on the Downtown Historic District. I just want to, you received information from Lucas. About a month ago, a question came up on Mills Act properties that and whether a historic resources report is required for those that are within the downtown or within the state historic district. And so that was resolved on Friday in the email that Lucas sent out to everybody and blind copied people. So what we have been proposing in the ad hoc committee for 2 years and talking about since the joint meeting is we're all on track. That was a big hurdle. We were glad to get that information submitted. Thanks to Mara, she and I were brainstorming. Thanks to Gina, who was talking to her CEQA people, and to Lucas for calling up the state and getting that information to us. Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah.
And that's for contributing.
This is for contributing properties, yes.
Correct.
Yes, and that was a proposal, is that if you have a contributing property that's within the downtown historic district, we would go to the city council and ask them not to require a historic resources report. Still up to them, okay?
When requesting a Mills Act agreement.
Mills Act
Not
agreement.
not when making structural or any kind of aesthetic changes to the building.
Yes, Mills
Right.
Act only.
And our code is already written in favor of that. We don't
Yes.
need to make any changes.
You do not need to make changes to the code.
We got that information from Gina's secret person.
I can forward it to you, but he used our own code back to us to explain exactly how it's already written to not have to make any changes. So
Okay.
I'll send that to you.
So,
So in our request to speak with council, that's one less thing we have to ask.
yeah, so I'm waiting to speak to council. That will be in September, I hope. Was going to be in July. The other thing is that Cindy is currently meeting with people. I am meeting with people. I am meeting with another group tonight, 7 o'clock, for a second meeting with them. You'd be surprised how many people take the summer off, even boards. I can tell you each of them. Okay? So anything else? Sorry, I'm being quick, but
Be quick.
we want to be able to keep the meeting go. Okay.
I don't have any updates. Everybody I've been talking to is, as you said, been on vacation, so.
Seriously. I am working with the county, so, on their parcel. Okay, ready to move?
There's one thing that I'm, just to kind of roll it around in your head for the next meeting. One thing that I learned with the people that I've been talking with is everybody seems really fine with the idea of a gerrymandered map where we don't have to include buildings that are non-contributing that may not be in favor of being part of the downtown district. I was questioned why we have some of these buildings in there if they're clearly non-contributing, and they would probably vote no, that we should really think about our votes and make sure that we don't want to kind of drop some of the non-contributing. So maybe at our next meeting, we can discuss that as well.
Okay, good. Yeah, that is one of the things I thought to bring back to our ad hoc committee meeting with yourself, Craig, and myself. We have already made one change, so there may be another one, but we'll talk about that. Okay,
So after you meet then with your ad hoc committee, you can come back to the HPC and update us. Thank you.
yes. Okay, where are we at?
If you're finished with
I'm
updating
finished.
us on the ad hoc committee, then we're on agenda item number 6, I think.
Yes.
And so it's staff presentation. And I just wanted to update the commission. On August 2nd, there was an interactive workshop for the general plan update. And that notice was put out to the community. There were about 40 people that showed up from the community. There were 4 stations for the audience to walk around and talk to the presenters. And it was a very interactive community meeting. The topics included land use, transportation, and safety policy, and the stations that you could talk about those 3 issues included the Village Mixed Use Zoning District, the Ojai Avenue Corridor, transportation as an issue, and also the Bryant Industrial Area. And all the workshop materials are on the city's website, and this is information now that we would like you, or it might behoove you, to pass on to your friends, family, neighbors that are citizens of Ojai. The workshop materials are on the city's website. They'll be on the website, and until the 18th, you can answer questions through the website to participate in a poll that we were able to do at the update. And I will say just out loud, www.menti.com, and then there's a code. I have a sheet for each of you. Then you would enter a code, and I guess if anybody wants it, I'll just say it out loud. I'm rushing now for you so you can get out of here. But in case Gina's writing this down, the code is 29860215. And Commissioner Prebor, I'm going to hand 3 of these to you if you want to take one and pass it down. Thanks.
And this is for any
That is for any, yes, so if you want to share this with people, that would be great, because it's an interactive way to have people let the consultants that are helping with this general plan update know what it is that the people want, because it's all about the people of Ojai. So as a way of encouraging you to pass this on, I wanted to just make a copy of that for you to make it easy. And if anybody has any questions, of course, they can always call your city planner, or your planner. I'm not a city planner, I'm a planner. So future items, we've got 39 Taramina. It's a work permit coming on September 8th, tentatively, but most likely. And October 13th, we hope to have a tutorial, tentatively have a tutorial for you on the sign permit process on a historic building. And October 15th is Ojai Day, and I've taken notes this evening of the different items that you would like to be put on a future agenda, and I know hoping for ASAP, and for the cottages and Mallory Way, as a discussion item by the commission. And with that, I know that somebody's trying to get someplace, and I'm finished. Do you have any questions of me? No questions.
Nope. Gina?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all for your service and your time.
Oh, thank you.
Laura, has anyone asked about this workshop or covered it in the newspaper or on the newspaper website? Right, did they write anything about it? I mean, I just felt like it might be interesting, if Laura